This video, I'm going to be looking at 5 free agents as of right now that I think could help this team and the type of players that they should be looking for in different roles. I do think you're going to probably have to look at overseas, a lot of stuff for overseas to find players that are willing to go to Indiana.
Did you witness the recent events? Fans of the WNBA are going crazy over Stephanie White's 5 free agent rumors, and we have the inside scoop on who might be joining the friend.
No, certainly, we don't have to make leaps and bounds and go from wherever we are to the top, right? But we've got to continue to get better. We've got to make sure on the days that shots aren't falling that we're able to position ourselves to win ball games.
You won't believe who's number.
Are you prepared to see how these acquisitions may make the Fever immediate contenders? Let's start with breaking down Stephanie White's free agent radar. You won't believe who's number 3 on this list. It's the move that could change everything for Indiana. The catch is that Julie Van Loo, this playmaker, might be the key to unlocking the Fever's offensive. You may have heard that Julie Vano is a restricted free agent with Washington. If the Mystics select a point guard like Paige Buers, Indiana may be able to acquire her, which would be a fantastic opportunity for the Fever. Imagine Vano and Caitlin Clark rushing the floor together. That combination might light up the scoreboard. Van is not only a skilled shooter, she also possesses a high basketball IQ that helps her teammates succeed because she knows when to shoot and when to dish it out. Exactly what the Fever needs right now.
I think Julie Van Loo would be an unbelievably good bench player for the Indiana Fever because because of how ball dominant Caitlin Clark is, you need a point guard who's going to be able to hit.
You may ask, don't they already have an Erica Wheeler? Yet the Van L is a significant improvement.
So be a veteran presence, just a better version of what Erica Wheeler is. Like, Erica Wheeler over dribbles the ball. She takes too much out of it. She doesn't even look for Caitlin Clark. Whereas Julie Van Loo is an actual set up to play point guard. She'll hit the open jump shot. She can play off the ball. And when she's running the point, she's going to actually find Caitlin Clark in the offense where Caitlin Clark's playing off the ball. She's going to allow Caitlin Clark to play off the ball because that's the biggest problem, is that when Caitlin Clark's playing off the ball, she never gets the ball. So someone like a Julie Van Loo, you need a backup point guard. You can't rely on Caitlin Clark to play 40 minutes of point guard for the entire game.
Wheeler has a bad habit of over dribbling and sometimes forgetting that Clark is even on the court. That's a major.
Wheeler's tendency to over dribble and occasionally forget that Clark is even on the floor is a serious issue that might hamper the Indiana Fever Vano, but it would also guarantee that Clark gets the open attention she needs.
Caitlin Clark is not a shooting guard, but this is the first time we've seen completely heliocentric offense in the WNBA from Caitlin Clark. But there are times, we've seen it with Luka, we saw it with LeBron at times in his career. There are times you need to get them off the ball, and I think someone like a Julie Van Loo could help, especially because I'm looking at other guards that I think could help in that role. You're not going to get a Kelsey Plum. You're not going to find, you're not going to get, obviously, a Taurasi. Taurasi's not going to leave.
Imagine this. Vanel brings the ball up, draws the defense, then kicks it out to Clark for a wide-open 3. Or perhaps she drives the defense to collapse and Clark cuts to the basket for an easy layup. These are the kinds of plays Vano can create all day long, but it's not just about Clark Vanel. Her versatility allows her to play both on and off the ball, which opens up a whole new world of offensive possibilities for the Fever. On top of that, they might be able to acquire her for about $100,000 per year, which is a great deal for a player who could completely change their offense.
Especially if you're keeping Kelsey Mitchell, someone that you can get for probably around $100,000 a year, which again is Demiris Dantas money. So I think that she's really not a bad player to have, because I don't think it's going to be a crazy amount. I don't think they'll match. I think you could maybe force Washington into something that they don't want to do as far as money wise, but I'm not sure Washington will match it, especially if they do end up getting that number 1 pick and get someone like a Paige.
What do you believe Julie Van Loo is? Could you picture the damage she and Clark could inflict to opposition defenses? Julie Van Loo is the missing piece that Indiana has been searching for. This move has the potential to have Fever supporters dancing through the streets of Indianapolis, but stay put because Stephanie White is only beginning to implement her grand plan. Her next move may potentially blow the league apart. The most infamous villain in the NBA, Sophie Cunningham, might be wearing Fever blue. Can you fathom the mayhem she would cause in Indiana's lineup?
This one is like a bit out of left field. People talking about this team needing an enforcer. This team needing, like, they are one of the most likable teams. But everyone's talking about they don't have an enforcer, they don't have a tough player, they don't have a...
What do you believe Julie Van Loo is? Could you picture the damage she and Clark could inflict to opposition defenses? Julie Van Loo is the missing piece that Indiana has been searching for. This move has the potential to have Fever supporters dancing through the streets of Indianapolis. But stay put because Stephanie White is only beginning to implement her grand plan. Her next move may potentially blow the league apart. The most infamous villain in the NBA, Sophie Cunningham, might be wearing Fever blue. Can you fathom the mayhem she would cause in Indiana's lineup?
Team looking to get to the playoffs for a third season in a row. Lackadaisical pass picked off by Brown. Sophie Cunningham, the pursuit. She picks up the personal foul. And Brown goes down in a heap. Let's hope everybody is okay as players are in the front row.
You may be asking yourself, wait, doesn't this go against Caitlin Clark's image? And you're not incorrect. Clark is the basketball equivalent of the Golden Girl, full of grace and charisma. Cunningham is the player that opposing teams despise, but here's the thing. Imagine Clark lighting up the scoreboard and an opponent suddenly gets a little too physical. Who's there to stop it? Sophie Cunningham would be like Clark's personal bodyguard on the court, making sure that there are no more easy shots or pushes around Clark.
Obviously, Phoenix is probably going to want to keep her. She's coming off the bench for Phoenix, but she is a starter-level player. She's going to be a much better defensive player than Katie Lou. She's probably doesn't fit in with the squeaky clean image of Caitlin Clark, but you know what? If the team wants to bring to have an enforcer, Sophie Cunningham will be that.
Though her combative attitude may annoy some, it wins games. And isn't that what the Fever needs right now? Cunningham isn't just muscle, though. She has significant game. We're talking starter-level talents that might change Indiana's offense and defense.
Now.
Get there, and Sutton forcing that turnover. Oh, nice step through, dropping the rookie. You go, Sophie, go!
And here comes Sophie and the Mercury. Cunningham buries the three.
Can't get it to fall. Cunningham the rebound in traffic. Cunningham from deep.
Adding Cunningham has the potential to completely alter this club's identity. It's like adding a spark to petrol with explosive results. The team with the showy rookie isn't the only one with a fever. Everyone wants to avoid messing with them.
I've seen Erica Wheeler getting in people's faces, and that's her trying to do that. Like, you're not gonna no one's gonna mess with Caitlin Clark if Sophie Cunningham's on her team. That's a fact. No one's gonna mess with her if Sophie Cunningham.
Teams that recruit enforcers frequently observe their performance. So you might be wondering if bringing in such a difficult guy could lead to issues in the locker room. Skyrocket. Do you recall how the Sparks turned into playoff beasts after adding some physical players?
And she's gonna give you enough on the offensive end to be probably worth a starting spot. I don't hate this. I think for the good of the game, it's probably not a good decision, but if you're looking to just for the good of the team, I think Sophie Cunningham might be actually a good choice here. But again, I don't know how.
So, do you think Sophie Cunningham is the missing piece that could make the Fever contenders? Can you see her and Clark creating the most unexpected dynamic duo in WNBA history? Stephanie White isn't done yet, though. The best is still to come. You might think the Fever need more firepower to compete, but what if their secret weapon isn't even about scoring? There's a reason why championship teams always seem to have that one veteran presence, Tina Charles. She's not just any veteran, she's a wah.
Yet.
She's big, and she's still good. Like, Tina Charles is still good.
Despite her size, she is just as good as Tina. Charles is still doing well right now.
Charles can
Obviously no longer playing for Washington, but I do like the Tina Charles to be a mentor for Aaliyah Boston.
36 years old, you can't teach such experience, but Tina Charles has seen it all in the WNBA. We're talking about an MVP, an 8-time All-Star, and a player who has been selected to the All-WNBA first team 5 times.
I think you bring her in for a year, you can have Aaliyah Boston learn from her.
Consider under the leadership of Tina Charles, Wing Boston is already a formidable opponent, but with his help, she could become unstoppable. Charles is an expert in post play and defensive tactics, so she could demonstrate Boston moves that would leave opponents baffled.
I think especially because the fact Fever aren't going to be good next year, and with the way contracts are, cap is going to explode in 2026. Everyone you're signing is on a one-year deal, so I think a one-year deal for someone like a Tina Charles might not be a bad option.
Charles has experienced the highs and lows of a lengthy WNBA career, so she understands what it takes to remain at the top of your game year after year. That kind of mental toughness is invaluable, especially for a young team like the Fever. Now, you may be wondering if Charles can still contribute on the court, and she is still a productive player. In addition, she signed a contract that is affordable at $130,000, which is a great deal for a player who can provide you with consistent minutes and mentor your young stars.
Because look, your building blocks are Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston. I don't think there is possible for like a on-court mentor of Caitlin Clark, because there's no one that even plays remotely similar to how Caitlin Clark plays in the WNBA right now. So I don't think there's anyone you can bring in, like unless Taurasi.
However, the finest part comes next. Throughout her career, Charles has played for a number of teams. She has witnessed various locker room dynamics, coaching philosophies, and methods. With this expertise, she could assist the Fever in creating a winning culture from the ground up.
But I think you're probably a lot more likely to get a Tina Charles who hasn't played with just the one team all the way through. She's played with the Sun, she's played with the Liberty, she's played the Mystics, the Mercury, the Storm. So if you can get a Tina Charles just to help Aaliyah Boston as a vet, because she hasn't really had any vets. They've got Temi Figbenley, who's not really a WNBA vet. She is an overseas vet, but I do think that Tina Charles is an option, is pretty much
you.
So I think DiJonai Carrington is the
Opposing
perfect
offenses find Carrington to be a nightmare. We're talking about a player who is so disruptive that teams have to alter their entire strategy when she's on the court. Her aggressive play and commanding presence make her one of the league's best perimeter defenders, and you better expect a long night when Carrington is protecting you.
Long night.
She is a decent offensive player, an ever-improving offensive player. She is the best perimeter defender in the WNBA. She's aggressive. She's strong.
Here's the catch, though. There is some hope for Fever lovers, but it is unlikely that Indiana could wrest Carrington away from her current partner, the Connecticut Sun, who is aware of her immense value.
Fans.
1 second for Carrington. Lays it in at the horn.
Here is Burton, and it's knocked away by McBride. Kayla McBride, the defensive play blocked by Carrington hard, and
Burton, a three. Off the mark.
When Carrington is on the floor, her impact extends beyond the box score. She's forcing bad shots, disrupting passing lanes, and making life miserable for the opposing team's best players. Her defensive stats are incredible, and she's altering the entire flow of the game as opponents struggle to get into their offensive sets.
She's also going to be one of those players that is so good on defense that it affects how offensive players play. She imposes herself on the defensive end, so the perimeter offensive players are going to...
Why is it so unlikely that the Sun will fight to retain Carrington? They have pay cap concerns, but they recognize her worth, and it would take a perfect storm for Indiana to acquire her.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a near impossibility for it to happen, but if it does happen, it is the perfect...
This is a wild card. Carrington has a personal tie to the squad because she is dating a player, but let's face it, their relationship hasn't been fantastic. The team doesn't appear very interested in bringing her in, and she most likely feels the same way.
I know there is a near 0% chance she would take a damn pay cut to not play for Indiana because of the fans. She's not going to do it, but you just never know.
Think Carrington to the Fever is intriguing. Just wait until you see who's last on this list. A move that could shake the entire league to its core.
The best player that I think there is some chance of getting to Indiana, Satu Sabally. And you might be saying, for all these new fans saying, who? Satu Sabally is one of the best players.
I find Carrington to the Fever to be fascinating, but wait until you see who's last on this list. That move might rock the league to its foundation.
But she's a two-time All-Star. She was on the All-WNBA first team last. And she has been on podcast defending Caitlin.
The WNBA refers to Satu Sabally as a unicorn because she is a force on the court. A 64-year-old forward
She's a 6'4" guard post hybrid who can shoot, who can handle, who does everything.
Sabally impacts both ends of the floor. She can
Why would a WNBA first-team player and two-time All-Star move from Dallas to Indiana? There are many ball-dominant players on the wings, so Sabally may be searching for a club where she can
if you can manage to get Satu Sabally, that is the #1 free agency option. Like Dejanay Carrington is a better fit. Satu is by far the best.
Why would a WNBA first-team player and two-time All-Star move from Dallas to Indiana? There are many ball-dominant players on the wings, so Sabally may be searching for a club where she can truly shine with the fever. She and Caitlin Clark would be the stars.
Satu is a player that you're not gonna find a Satu Sabally. There may not have been a player like Satu Sabally in quite.
Can you picture Sabally and Clark playing together? As the team's top option, Sabally might average 23 to 25 points per game, and Clark's passing abilities could increase those totals even further. This duo is the kind of one that makes opposition coaches shudder.
Well, I think, first and foremost, obviously, they're an exciting team to watch. I think offensively, we can be more creative. I think we can utilize, more versatility, utilize the certain players in different ways. I'm a forward-thinking, outside-the-box kind of coach. I like to challenge them on a number of levels. They are a high IQ team, so also giving them the freedom to make plays. Like, you want to make plays, you don't run plays. Everybody knows at the end of the day, players win the ball games, right? You got to give them the freedom, the confidence to believe in their abilities to.
As previously stated, Sabally has an impact on both ends of the court. She can guard several positions, rebound, and initiate the fast break. When she is placed next to Aaliyah Boston, the Fever have one of the league's most adaptable front courts, and there is an immediate chemistry between them. Boston and Sabally Clark are a championship core, and if Stephanie White pulls this off, the team will move from rebuilding to title contenders immediately. It's the kind of signing that sends other teams into a tailspin and fans into a frenzy. What do you think? Is Satu Sabally the last missing component for Indiana? Can you imagine her guiding this team to the playoffs and beyond? If so, the rest of the league will undoubtedly have to be on guard because they mean business. Just consider how Stephanie White is creating a WNBA powerhouse with the Fever. Point, which Julie Van Loo is operating. The heat is coming from Sophie Cunningham. Tina Charles guiding up-and-coming stars, this lineup has the potential to make Indiana an immediate contender thanks to Dejanay Carrington locking down opponents and Satu Sabally dominating both ends of the court. However, it gets really interesting as to which of these moves will actually give White options, but she is unable to sign them all. You may be thinking that it is unlikely that they will sign all of these stars, and you are correct that it is a long shot, but even one or two of these signings could make all the difference for Indiana.